everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you my June wrap-up plus announcements video. So in this past month I only read 6 books, which really isn't bad at all considering I've been in a little bit of a book slump and I've been relatively busy, so anytime that I've had to myself I just really haven't been motivated to read. I'm really glad that I did get to pick up 6 books this month, but I'm excited to sort of make this a little bit more of a fun, carefree wrap-up where I talk about some of the other things I've been doing this month, one of the television shows that I've been binge watching that I'm really excited to discuss on my channel. Those of you that follow me on my Twitter probably know what television show I was watching, and then also talk about some other announcements, things that I have, just making things a little bit more casual because I don't really have that many books to discuss compared to some of my past wrap-ups this month. So I'm excited to dive right in, discuss the 6 books that I read in June, so let's get started. So my first read of the month is actually an arc. This book comes out in October and it is Life is Like a Musical, How Broadway Can Help You Live Your Best Life by Tim Federle. This is such a fantastic read for anyone who is into the theater community. This book is 50 chapters long. Each chapter is about a page or two with different tips and tricks and pieces of advice to follow if you want to be on Broadway or want to be on stage. So it can be anything from a certain etiquette to follow if you're auditioning or certain things to do in front of casting directors, ways to behave to make yourself more prominent in the community, and a good mindset to have when you're auditioning, all the things to do there, and then once you finally get casted, how to deal with the busy schedule that you have, how to deal with the exhaustion, both physical, mental, and emotional, going through doing 8 shows a week and also having to deal with being apart from your family and everything that comes from being on stage. And it really is such a wonderful novel, especially coming from an author who is so experienced in the community, as Tim himself was on Broadway as a performer and as an actor, so he has experience with auditioning and knowing what that is like, but he also has experience on the other side of the spectrum as he is one of the book writers for Tuck Everlasting, so he knows what it's like to be a little bit of a casting director, be on the other side, know what it is that casting directors are looking for, and he's also really experienced as a writer. He's done a little bit of YA, he's done a little bit of middle grade, he also did a little bit of adult, and he's written some literary inspired cocktail novels, and this is sort of like what I would consider his first self-help novel with different tips and tricks and things to follow. I really didn't know about this book until relatively recently when I saw that Tim was going to be at BookCon and that he was signing an arc of a book called Life is Like a Musical. I went and found it on Goodreads and was immediately interested. I'm really glad that I got to meet Tim at BookCon. I got a copy of his arc and so he signed it for me, and it says, "To Gabby the Great, love, Tim Federle." I loved getting to meet Tim. I hadn't read anything from him other than one of his short stories in Summer Days and Summer Nights last summer, so this was the first book of his that I ever picked up and I really enjoyed it. And the thing that's great about this book is that it's not just for anyone who wants to be on Broadway. It can be anyone who's interested in theater, and maybe you're just doing community theater or high school theater, or maybe you're just someone who is a theater admirer and you go and see lots of Broadway shows and you have lots of respect for the community. This is a great book because it helps give you an understanding of what it's like to be on stage and what it's like to go through that whole process from somebody who knows it so well. And I'm really glad I got to read this. I'm definitely going to be taking some of the tips and tricks from this book and using it when I go and do auditions later on this year for some of my school plays, because I think it'll be really helpful because there's a lot of great things in here that I feel like are relatively self-explanatory, but sometimes it's hearing them and reading them and hearing it from someone who is so experienced in the community that it sort of starts to click. So I'm really glad I got to pick this up this month, and I hope that you guys go and pick it up when it comes out in October. The pre-order link will be down below if you want to check it out. I think it's definitely worth a read, and I'm really glad that I got to meet Tim this summer at BookCon. So my next read of the month I picked up while I was at the Strand in New York City, and that is Kill All Happies by Rachel Cohn. I've seen this book all over BookTube, and the biggest reason that it really drew me and the biggest reason why I decided to pick it up while I was at the Strand is because of the cover. I mean, look at this. You have just this plain back book, but then you have the spine here, and then you have the inside, which is pretty much a map of the entire book and everything that goes on within it, and I thought that that was so pretty that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go and pick it up. So this story follows our main character, Victoria Navarro, who has just graduated high school, so her and her friends are going to be going off in separate directions, so she gets permission from the owner of Happy's, which is this really popular restaurant in her town, to throw a going away party for her entire high school class. And with that then, they're also celebrating the legacy of the restaurant as it's really popular and is starting to close down because the owner is retiring and the restaurant itself has fallen into disrepair. So Victoria throws this huge bash, this huge going away party. Most of her high school class is there. They're all celebrating and everything is going great. Just a very fun party until everything starts to go mad when a whole bunch of Happies, who are people that are sort of in a way like groupies of the restaurant, people who have been there when they did like beauty pageants and have like memorabilia from the restaurant and are like these really old timers, people who are a fan of the legacy of the restaurant, come and invade this party, and they break into the amusement park that was once a part of the restaurant before it shut down due to repair, and this entire party starts to just explode. And so now this whole story follows Victoria as she has to sort of handle this entire mob that happens and try to calm down this Coachella-like situation that forms before it gets way too out of control, while she also has to deal with a teacher at her school that she really didn't like that is coming in and wants to sort of take everybody out and is going to sort of make the situation even more of an issue. So it just follows this entire mob that happens, and this book is really just a fun summery contemporary, and I would even go as far as to put it in that sort of trashy guilty pleasure YA section, because it's just really one of those fun no strings attached book where it's not like you're gonna become really immersed in the world and in the characters and the story. It's just not that book. It's just a very fun summery contemporary, but I'm glad that I picked it up because being in the book slump that I was, this was just the perfect book to read because it was just really fun and really exciting, and I was constantly turning the page, really interested to find out what happens next. It was a fun story, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. I'm really glad that I found out about it through BookTube because it was a very enjoyable read. My third read of the month was actually one of the Owl Crate books that I received in one of their past boxes, and that is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This was in the May Owl Crate box, and it also was included with an exclusive cover, which is why the cover that you see here is a little bit different than the one that you would normally see sold in stores. I believe the font on the cover is a little bit different, and the two characters on the cover are switched positions compared to what you would see on the original cover. So some slight differences, but still really cool that you get this exclusive cover thanks to Owl Crate. So I'm really glad that I have this. This book follows our main character Eliza, and she's the creator of a popular comic web series called Monster Sea, but she's kept her identity private, so nobody at her school knows that she's this famous writer that has all of these hits online, and so she is sort of seen as this shy, quiet girl in the back of her school that nobody really notices. Until one day a kid moves to her school named Wallace, who turns out to be one of the biggest fan fiction writers of her series that she's created. And so now the two of them start to become close when Eliza is assigned as sort of like his student mentor in a way to sort of show him around and help him get acclimated with the school. And now Eliza has to keep this secret from him and try to hide this huge other portion from herself with somebody who's such a big fan of her work. So this book was absolutely fantastic. I had the best time reading it because it has a wonderful mental illness rep. Our main character Eliza has anxiety, and there's points where she gets panic attacks and like blacks out, and it's just totally on another level, and I'd never read a character with anxiety, and I really appreciated reading it because I have a bit of anxiety myself. I've never really gone as far as to black out, but I definitely have panic attacks, a moment where I feel like I'm freaking out, and I have those types of moments. So I liked getting to read from a character that goes through similar things as I do because I felt like it was depicted really well and it was something that I could really relate to. I also really like the parental aspect that plays into the story, as Eliza's parents really don't have the full understanding of this comic web series that she's doing and don't really understand the amount of work that goes into it and the community behind it and the amount of people that are interested in her writing. And so seeing her parents come to understand that and see them start to be more appreciative of her work and understand the full magnitude of it was something I appreciated, because having a YouTube channel and sitting in my room, my parents don't entirely get it either. And it wasn't until I was actually showing them my New York vlogs that they started to understand it a little more, they started to appreciate it a little bit more. And it was a really nice moment to have because I really identified to what Eliza experienced in this book. So I got a lot of really wonderful things from it. One of the other things that I appreciated about this book is that Francesca Zappia herself did not only the writing for this book as an author, but she also did the illustrations throughout this book, as it is a little bit of a mixed media novel, and you have all of the different illustrations from Eliza's comic web series in here. I think that that's really impressive as an author for her to not only do the writing but do the illustrating and be able to sort of create this entire world on her own, because most authors don't typically do that. So this book was a fantastic, wonderful read. I've been hearing nothing but fantastic things about it from everyone else, so I'm really glad that I got an opportunity myself to pick it up. So thank you so much, Owl Crate, for this book. I had the best time reading it, and I hope that you guys go and pick it up. So because I enjoyed Life is Like a Musical so much, I had to go and pick up another Tim Federle novel, so I read The Great American Whatever this month as well. This story follows our main character Quinn, who is 16 years old and is going through a little bit of a rough time. His sister died in a car accident 6 months prior to the start of his story, and his father also walked out on him in a relatively young age. So just him and his mom, and with his mom having to deal with not only the loss of her daughter, but her husband walking out on her as well. She really isn't entirely there. They have a broken air conditioner, their house is sort of falling apart. Quinn has dropped out of high school and he just really doesn't have a lot of motivation. So it's not until Quinn's friend Jeff sort of walks in, tries to get him back into the real world, takes him to a college party, that Quinn meets a college guy and starts to fall for him, and they start to develop a little bit of a fling. And then it's this whole story is sort of Quinn's coming of age story and him starting to imagine his life as a screenplay, as he wants to be a screenwriter and used to make movies with his sister. That was their big passion, but he kind of fell out of that. So it's him starting to find that passion again, starting to find a reason to live and just find a little bit more passion, find more in the world. This book was absolutely fantastic. It came out last year, and I've been hearing nothing but wonderful things about it ever since it popped up on my radar, and I was so excited to pick it up, especially after loving Life is Like a Musical, and this book absolutely blew me out of the water. I had the best time reading it because not only is it relatively short and just kind of a book that you can fly through, I also really loved how the theater aspect plays into the story, and there's actually portions of the book that are written in a screenplay as Quinn is sort of imagining how a certain scene would take place if he was writing it, and I think that was really cool because Tim Federle himself has done a little bit of screenplay as he is one of the book writers for Tuck Everlasting, so he has that experience, so I thought that was really cool to see that play into the novel. I love reading books about theater because I do theater myself. I've done a little bit of acting in my high school drama club, and I like doing that whenever I can get the chance because it is just relatively fun to be on stage, to play a different character, and just get so immersed in that world. So I always love reading books about theater, but I never see enough of them or never really pick up enough of them. So I was really excited to get to read this, especially coming from an author that is such a theater aficionado himself, and I had the best time with this book. I loved the LGBTQ plus rep in this book, and the characters themselves were wonderful. It was just a really sweet and really fantastic story, and it was probably honestly my favorite read of the month because it was just so much fun. So the next book that we have here is 26 Kisses by Anna Mitchells. This book I picked up last October at Anderson's YA Fandom Frenzy. Anna was there and she was signing in around the time she was pregnant, so I'm assuming by now she's had her baby, so congrats Anna. I really don't know if she has any social media or anything, so I haven't heard that much about that because a lot of authors tend to sort of just avoid that, which is totally cool, but I'm assuming she's had her kid, so I wanted to say congratulations. This book follows our main character Vita, who's just gone through a bad breakup and is now having to go into summer vacation a little bit alone, and she sort of feels a little bit empty inside. So her friend creates this challenge where she has to kiss 26 different guys, one for each letter of the alphabet. And when Vita ends up meeting a guy that ends up meaning more to her than this challenge that is supposed to be a sort of no strings attached type thing, she starts to sort of question as to whether this is something that she wants to continue to pursue or whether she wants to develop a long-lasting relationship, something that she really wasn't looking for at the start of the summer. So I really enjoyed this book for what it was. It was a really fun, summery contemporary, and that's exactly why I put reading off this book until summer came around, because I knew that I'd be looking for a read like this, and exactly fulfilled what I wanted from it. It was really fun and also was really frustrating at times because if you've read this book or if you plan on reading this book, you'll understand that the main character makes some decisions that are just relatively frustrating, moments where you just kind of want to scream and throw the book at the wall because you're like, why would you do that? But I feel like you have moments with that with every book where you're reading something, you get frustrated with a decision that a character makes, but if anything it makes you want to read more because you want to see what happens next. So I really enjoyed this book for that. I think it was just a really fun summery contemporary. The minute that I read the synopsis when I picked it up back in October, I was drawn in and hooked immediately with the world and the story and the premise. It just seemed like a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that if you're looking for a fun summer contemporary, I feel like this also sort of fits into Kill All Happy, is that same sort of category of being a little bit of a trashy YA novel that's just very no strings attached and just a very fun read. This would be another really great one to pick up, and I'm really glad that I got to meet Anna while I was in Anderson's YA Fandom Frenzy because I had the best time reading this book, and it was really great to get to meet the author. So the final book we have here, I picked up because I got it at BookCon. My mom was going around and walking around the show floor, and they had like 10 books for $10, and so she found this and she picked it up, and I really wasn't planning on reading it, but because I was in such a book slump, I needed a book to read, just something, anything to read so that I could say that I'd read a damn book. And so I picked up Beauty and the Beast, Belle's story. So this is pretty much a journal from Belle's point of view with her version of what happens, and there's like some flaps in here and also some pictures from the movie, and it's just really nicely designed. I appreciated it for that, and I literally went through and read this in about a half an hour because I was just looking for something to read. I really didn't read it because I wanted to, but being in the mood that I was where I've been really into Beauty and the Beast, I haven't gotten to pick up the movie on DVD yet. I wanted to, but it came out while I was in New York, so I wanted to wait until I got back home, and then I've never picked it up, but I definitely want to because I loved the movie, and I'm really glad that I got to pick this up while I was at BookCon. I had a great time reading it. It was just something to pull me out of my slump, something really quick and easy to read. I like looking through all the pictures, picking up all the flaps. Sometimes a very fun and simple book like that can really help when you're in a slump, so I'm glad that I got to pick this up. So now that that is all out of the way, let's talk about the big thing that I've been doing this month. So for those of you that have been following me on Twitter, you would know that I've been binge watching a television show on Netflix. It's 10 seasons long, and I finished all 10 seasons in less than a month. The show takes place in New York. We have 6 main characters. It's a relatively popular show. I finally watched Friends on Netflix. Oh my god, I love Friends so much. I understand the hype now. I'm a part of the community. I've gone through the rite of passage. advantage and I could not be more blessed. This is one of those shows that I feel that I needed to watch because it's just so iconic. I mean, you have Jennifer Aniston, Matt LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, and David Schwimmer, like the 6 of them. Oh my gosh, this is what launched their career, and the show has so many iconic references to the point where I literally sat with my friend for almost like an hour and a half just quoting Friends at each other and just laughing at all of the jokes. You cannot do that with any other show, and I had the best time with this show, particularly because the humor in it is so great. For me, comedy is a very touchy thing for me. I really tend to not like comedy movies because I just don't find the jokes funny, and I feel like the humor is relatively dirty and it's just not my style, and I don't really appreciate it. I'm not a comedy movie person. It's just not my thing. It's very hard to make me laugh when I watch comedy movies because I just don't find the jokes funny, either because I don't get them or because I just don't appreciate them. But the minute that I was watching Friends, from the first episode, I was laughing, and there was times where I had to stop because I was hysterically laughing so loud because everything was just phenomenal. The writing is so great, and I feel like I have not watched a show ever that has as fantastic writing as Friends has. Everything about the show is phenomenal, and you're probably watching this and being like, I know this, you don't need to scream it at me, but I'm just saying this because I feel so stupid. I come to everything late. It's just something that I've come to the conclusion of. I will come late to the party for everything that is like really, really hyped up. I just need to stop that and start getting more cultured and actually get into things when they're popular. I really couldn't do that with Friends because the show started airing before I was born, and by the time it wrapped up, I was only about 3-4 years old. So really was never good timing for me, and now that I'm 16, it was a good time to watch the show. I got all the jokes. I really appreciated it. It was a phenomenal show. As for my favorite episode, I really don't have one because I just enjoyed everything overall. I loved Chandler and Monica. I loved seeing that moment that they proposed. That was just so beautiful. I love their relationship so much. I loved the last episode because it just wrapped up so nicely. I watched How I Met Your Mother last year and I enjoyed it, but the ending itself ruined the show for me, so I love Friends so much more than How I Met Your Mother because of that, because Friends overall is just consistent with everything. The way that they had all of their finales for each season, I felt like were really good and had fantastic cliffhangers. I couldn't imagine having to watch the show while it was airing because some of those cliffhangers would physically eat me alive, so I had just the best time with the show. Favorite characters has to be Chandler and Joey. I love their bromance and I like ship them more than anybody else in this entire show, but obviously of course it's Friends because they're just so phenomenal, and the on-screen chemistry that Matthew Perry and Matt LeBlanc have is just phenomenal. If I had to choose between the two, it would have to be Chandler because Chandler is just hilarious. I love all of his jokes. He's so sweet and so wonderful. I was totally surprised by that because everyone said Chandler was their favorite character, and I was like, I don't know, Matthew Perry. And I liked Ross because I liked David Schwimmer, who was the only actor that I really watched a lot from because I watched him in the O.J. Simpson trials on FX when they did that little mini-series, and so I knew him from there, and I was like, okay, well, I like Ross then, but then I watched the show and I was like, I am wrong, and I admit it, and that's why you don't make those type of comments about shows before you watch them, because you will be wrong 9 times out of 10, unless, you know, you're cultured, which I was not. But I'm rambling now about Friends. I love this show so much. I'm so glad I got to watch it this month, and literally I would just sit and binge watch, and I needed to stop myself, but I would watch one episode and then I'd watch the next, and there'd be points where I'm like, I need to stop, and every single episode would just get better and better and better, and it's so good. I tweeted some things on my Twitter account if you want to go and check it out. My Twitter's always linked down below, and you can see some of my more fun, in-depth tweets about the show and things that were going on. But it was basically one big fangirly mess, but I'm so glad I got to watch Friends because it is phenomenal. So now to end this video with some quick announcements. Number one, I know that some of you guys may be wondering about Shadowhunter reviews for the show. When are those coming back? Am I going to be doing them anymore? As of right now, I'm taking a little bit of a brief hiatus from Shadowhunters and Shadowhunter reviews. I'm just not really that inclined and interested in the show anymore. There was a moment where I was going and I was editing one of my videos, and I looked at the time and I was like, oh, Shadowhunters is on, and I decided to keep editing my video instead of watching Shadowhunters because I just really didn't care. The season hasn't really hooked me. I haven't really been compelled by any of the episodes, and so I don't want to make the one video that I upload per week to be a review of a show that I'm not really interested. I'd rather be uploading other content, focusing on other things. So maybe what I'll do is that I'll do Instagram story rants after each episode if I'm watching them live, talking about some of my thoughts on the episode and things that are going on. I'm enjoying parts of it, but there's some things that I'm frustrated by, and I just don't want to spend time reviewing the show because it's such a pain in the ass to watch the show once, then have to go watch the show again and take notes, and then sort of practice how I want to say everything, get everything down, and then film it several times over because I'm not happy with how it comes out. It's just not worth my time, and I'd rather be filming other videos. As for right now, I'm sorry that I'm not doing the reviews anymore. I would just rather do other things with my channel. Alright, and so finally, I have started a diversity book club with me and some lovely other booktubers, and each month we are going to be reading a diverse book. and then discussing it in live show format like a lot of other book clubs on BookTube. And so the book that we are reading this month is Tosh Hart's Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. I already read this book and absolutely loved it, and I want to review it on my channel, so that'll hopefully be coming sometime soon. As for when we're going to be doing our live show, either it'll be sometime end of July, beginning of August. We'll be announcing the date sometime soon. We're discussing it right now and sort of figuring out who's going to be joining from our group and things like that. We're still working out some of the details, but once we find things out, we'll be announcing it on our Instagram, Diversity Readers. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out, as well as the diversity live show discussion that I did a few weeks back, where I pretty much discussed diverse books and diversity within the YA community, some issues, things like that. It was a really fun live show. Thank you to everyone who joined because it was an absolutely great time. I'm really excited to get to start this book club, get to read some really wonderful diverse books, and I'm excited to be discussing Tosh Hart's Tolstoy later on this month or in the beginning of August. So that about ends this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to comment down below your favorite read of the month, maybe your favorite show you've been binge watching on Netflix, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a phenomenal summer, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye!